J. Hotep. This is the Truth May Hurt. My name is Raymond Witcher, and I am your host. I'm going to give you a presentation that I have put together, not in a presentation format, but just in an information awareness that calling the United States Eugenics programs. Okay? Does everybody know what eugenics is and why this is important? Because eugenics, let's go down. Let me see if I want, which definition do I want to give you? Okay, let's give you this one right here. All right, the eugenics definition is the study of how to arrange reproduction within a human population to increase the occurrence of heritable characteristics regarding as desirable. Developed largely by Sir Francis Galton as a method of improving the human race, genetics was increasingly discredited as unscientific and racially biased during the 20th century, especially after the adoption of its doctrine by the Nazis in order to justify the treatment of the Jews, disabled people, and other minority groups. So eugenics is the study of and the attempt to control what genetic traits are and can be reproduced. So this is the foundation of racism. We're trying to get down to the root cause, how it has been able to sustain itself, and it's not going away. So the eugenics program, if you remember, or if you haven't seen my video on the Willie Lynch letter of how to make a slave, that is eugenics, because in that letter it talks about how they were going to breed us, how they were going to mix the good white blood with the bad nigger blood to create a race. This is what it's saying. It just said right here, to improve the human race. Eugenics was increasingly discredited. And see, it didn't really become a problem because this is what they started this in Africa. Okay. Doing the invasions, during the African Holocaust. Eugenics started there. But it did not really become a problem and start being discredited until Hitler and the Nazis started doing it to the Jews, disabled people, and other minority groups. So here in America, the eugenics programs still exist. The most important thing that I want you to understand and remember from this video is that those eugenics programs are still active today. Okay, and don't let people tell you, well, you know, man, they don't still do that now. Yes, they do. Yes, they do, and I'll explain that a little bit more down. But I'm just trying to first giving you the definition of eugenics. Okay, now, if you look up this book, the book Race, Tendencies, and Traits of the American Negro. Okay, the book Race, Tendencies, and Traits of the American Negro is a study of the African American population in the United States during the late 19th century. It explores the physical, mental, and cultural characteristics of African Americans, as well as their social and economic status. The author argues that the decline in the African race is due to race traits rather than conditions and circumstances of life. So the eugenics program is really a program that they designed to study us, not for our benefit, but to come up with false bullshit that said that we were our own problem because of our race traits, because of our dark skin, because of our kinky hair, because of our big nose and our big lips. These traits, well, I guess you could say that because that's what they held against us. It wasn't that our traits were detrimental to us, it's that our traits weren't appealing to the European race. So that's what it's telling you. It's telling you, go back to the definition, it's telling you to improve the human race, to develop that reproduction within the human population to increase the occurrence of hereditable characteristics. So they wanted to breed us and crossbreed us and intermix our blood until our skin turned light, until our noses weren't so wide, until our hair wasn't so kinky. Okay? That's what it's telling you. So we are the most studied people on earth. The sad part about it is we're the one race on earth that knows the least about ourselves. We know the least about our history. We know the least about our culture. We know the least about our spirituality. And we just have been put in all we need to do is believe. Believe what? Believe who? This? What they're saying in the eugenics program? Do you want to believe that your racial traits are what your problems are? That your problems have nothing to do with colonialism, imperialism, capitalism, Hellenism. Those things don't have anything to do with your situation or our situation within this race identification worldwide. I got a secret for you. Black people, our luck isn't that bad. And we were doing great before we were introduced to Jesus Christ and this European God. We didn't have these problems until they told us we are sinners, until they told us that we need to be saved. And the only way to be saved is through this book and through this God. We didn't have these problems. And the whole time that we've been in this, we have been being studied. We have been being studied through eugenics programs to not just discredit us, but to eliminate us. Okay? This about that. Okay. Let's look at this right quick. Now, some of the eugenics, let me see if I can pull this up. Okay, so some of the eugenics programs were for sterilization in the United States on black women. All right, 32 states that use sterilization in Alabama, Arizona, California, Connecticut. Eugenics in the United States, the forgotten movement. Okay, so you're not going to learn this in school. You're not going to learn this in American history. You're not going to learn this in social studies. You're not going to learn this in world history. It's been erased out of the classrooms. This will never be taught to anyone. You have to wake up and you have to say that this is important and you can't fool yourself and trick yourself to say and believe that it's not important because it happened a long time ago. It happened today. It happened yesterday, and it's going to happen tomorrow, as long as we are sitting back waiting and having faith that Jesus is going to protect you And he's going to not let these things happen to you because he promised he'd be back before these things will be forced on those who believe in him. It's not going to happen. Okay? So all of this stuff in the United States, some of the things that I know were a part of the eugenics programs and study is the Tuskegee men that they studied on syphilis. One of the studies that everybody should have heard about, and if you've never heard about it, is the Tuskegee syphilis study and on black men. The Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male. They did this study. Now listen, they did this study on black men at Tuskegee University. My father graduated from Tuskegee University, and this was back during that time. Okay? But what they did was they did a study and told black men that they wanted to give them treatment for syphilis. And they wanted to study their progress to the new drug, I think it was penicillin. But they never gave these men penicillin. They had these men in a study so that they could record the pathology of syphilis. How did syphilis progress in your body? Once you contracted it, what are the first stages? What is this stage? What are the last stages? And the whole time they were giving these men placebo shots that didn't have anything in it. It was just a shot. And they did this from 1932 all the way up to 1972. That's 40 years. How many of these men do you think died during this eugenics study? So when we're talking about eugenics, we're talking about the study of black people and on black people that's not for our benefit. Okay? So I'm showing you these things because they're still doing it today. The Negro children at Tuskegee. Okay? But as you see, this is the study. This is them faking that they are helping these black men, helping them fight off syphilis. Now, keep in mind, what do you think these men who had syphilis were doing? Spreading syphilis throughout the black community, passing it on. So don't act like these things didn't happen. Don't act like these things have ever stopped. And don't act like these things are not going to affect your descendants, because they are in a worse way, because now they have it figured out, because now the way that they're going to control the populations and how they're going to get to the desired human race, to improve the human race, is through RMNA that they're growing your food in, that when we eat it, it's memory. It's a memory. I'm gonna pull it up for you. The memory RNA will specifically attach to and attack specific genotypes. Whose genotypes do you think they're going to be? The black race. All right. So here's another one. Let me do that. Let me do this first because I won't come back to it. See, what is it? What is it in the food? GMO, genetically modified organisms. That's when they learned how to manipulate the DNA of fruit and vegetables, where they can produce fruit and vegetables without seeds. Well, when you consume a vegetable that the DNA of the vegetable is non-productive and can't produce its own seeds, and you eat it, what do you think it does to your seeds? Why would someone come up with an idea that we need to genetically modify food, GMO, genetically modify the organisms of the food? We need to change the DNA. Why would somebody who would want to do that? Okay, so that is the old technology. The new technology is mRNA, which is messenger RNA. What is it? Messenger RNA, abbreviated mRNA, is a type of single-stranded RNA involved in protein synthesis. mRNA is made from a DNA template during the process of transcription. So they can take the DNA that they want to produce and reproduce, put it in your food, you eat it, and it will alter your DNA structure to be that DNA. Messenger RNA is a molecule in cells that carries codes. Messenger is a molecule in cells that carries codes from the DNA in the nucleus to the site of protein synthesis in the cryptoplasma. Each RNA molecule encodes information for one protein. Do you understand what that's saying? They're going to create a society of only people that they want here on Earth. All right, so you can come back and read more of this. I'm not going to stick on this. I'm just introducing you to it. This is where we are right now. This is the age that we're going into. So everybody that's saying, well, that happened a long time ago, we shouldn't have listened to them. It happens today, not a long time ago. And now technology is on their side. Okay, so let me see what else I wanted to show you. Okay, so again, if you come back and do a search on list of American Eugenics Program studies for Black projects, and I'm going to tell you why I did that study. You can see the Eugenics Crusade full documentary, and it's going to tell you all of the things that I'm telling you. Black sterilized by the Eugenics Program. Now, program funded by Margaret Stanger. Do you know who she is? I'm going to show you who she is. She's the woman that is at the head of the Eugenics Program. She's also the white lady who is the head of family planning. Family is it family planning that is in most Black neighborhoods to help Black mothers or Black people who don't have insurance and they need. She's the head of the program Planned Parenthood, advising Black women to have abortions, tie your fallopian tube so you can't have children, to continue the sterilization programs that they forced on people. It's about keeping Black people from making Black babies unless they meet their criteria. So Africa, I'm gonna ask you a question. If you think that they're not trying to set up and run this program in Africa, because they don't want dark-skinned people, they don't want roll-top black, they want beige. Okay. So this program is going to be a worldwide run program, because what they want to do is they want to convert the world to it's going to be a new world order, but in the new world order, they want a global food supply. They want everybody eating the same thing. They don't want cultural things. And that's one of the reasons we get sick, is because a lot of us don't eat our native food, our native fruit, our native vegetables. And when we do, it was grown in GMO, genetically modified. And once you grow genetically modified food in your soil, it kills the soil. That's why American fruit doesn't have taste. Okay, but you can see here the eugenics programs, and I want to show you one. I don't make things up. Active genocide. Eugenics program tried to breed out black people in North Carolina. Okay, I grew up on the North Carolina border. You can't tell me. I know. All right. So, they were doing all kind of horrible things to black women down in North Carolina, and it's all under the eugenics program. It's all under trying to weed us out. We were undesirable because of the tone of our skin. I can't get this one to move. Okay. So, froze up. Okay, I'm just showing you some of the things relating to eugenics, which is the study of how to produce what you want in each race. Okay, and part of the eugenics study, there was a study back in the 60s, eugenics and its aftermaths. I don't know if it's in this study, but I'm showing you that there's a lot of information. And here's a documentary. Okay, but I've seen a study that Margaret Sager was a part of it in the 60s, after the death, or just somewhere right around the death of Martin Luther King, when they came up with all of the social assistance programs. That's one of the things that came in or after or around the civil rights movement. Food stamps, these kind of programs to help black people, but they deceived you, because part of the program requirements was, in order for you to get the assistance you need to help feed your children, you can't have a man in the house. You can't have a husband. We're not going to help you if you have a husband. So the eugenics program was a study of how to break down and break up the black family. And one of the things that they said is, in order for our program to work, because the black family was united. Yeah, we didn't have a lot, but there was a father in most of the houses. There was a father in most of the homes. Most of the children, mothers and fathers, were married. There was a union that we had in the 50s and the 60s that we had never been able to have during slavery, or the first 75 or 80 years after slavery. We started recovering. Our family started recovering. We were becoming educated. We had very successful black communities. Segregation didn't really hurt us, other than we can't come into your places. We can't come into the white establishments. But we were very successful. They burned the first bomb ever dropped from a plane, was dropped on Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Is it Tulsa, Oklahoma? Black Wall Street. Because the black people that were wealthy, we had everything. And the white people were like, no, you have actually pulled yourself up by your bootstraps. You know how they always, why don't you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps? Well, every time we did, you took the boots. You burned down our neighborhoods, you burned down our communities. They did this all throughout the United States. Black Wall Street wasn't the only one. There was a place down in Florida. Just look up. I'll do it for you. No, I don't want to keep going. Every place that we became successful, they burn it up. So in the 50s and the 60s, as we were recovering, the eugenics program says we have to disrupt the balance in the black family by removing the black fathers from the home. Okay? We've been trapped in that system ever since. So the eugenics program actually did a study with rats. And they had rats contained in a large cage. And as long as they changed the bedding for the rats, fed the rats, gave them fresh water, they got along great. They functioned well. Okay. They functioned. They didn't have any problems. So they did that for a period of time. Then they slowly started taking these things away from them a little bit and one by one at a time. They stopped changing their water and stopped giving them fresh water. They stopped changing their bedding and made them sleep in feces and urine. They didn't feed them regularly. And the mice and rats, they turned them. Now this was a project that they did. This was a study and a project that they did over time. It was a project. And their conclusion was that as long as you made the rats comfortable, fed them, gave them a clean environment, clean water, enough room to exercise, they were fine. But the minute that you overcrowded the cage, stopped changing the bedding, not feed them on time, left dirty water for them, they turned on each other and started killing each other and devouring each other. They used this model from this project to develop the inner city projects. That's why they're called projects. When you say, well, they live in the projects. Yes, it was a project and a study from a project that they studied rats and their behavior to say that if we crowd enough black people into a very confined space, we don't give them enough money to feed themselves. We don't give them enough of anything other than the bare necessities to live. They'll kill each other. We won't have to kill them. This was a study done through the Eugenics program. And you can look it up. Okay? So this is what I'm trying to tell you, is that we are the most studied people on earth. We're predictable as long as we're under their spell. As long as we are stuck and confine ourselves and to believe that everything I need to know is within the circumference of this circle, and not realize that there's more outside of the circle to know than it is inside, because most of the things that are inside of this circle, they gave us. This is what they gave us in our education system, in our religious belief systems, and the things that we were taught to have faith in. This is a social construct to control us. And man, I sure don't want my son, my daughter, and my grandchildren to come to be victims in this same system because they're afraid not to believe what our enslavers, oppressors, colonizers, Hellenizers gave us, forced on our ancestors. No, they didn't beat it into us, but they beat it so well into our ancestors that it's been passed on since then. So let's take a look at these things. Okay, so when I told you about this book that, what's his name? Galileo, I think his name is Galileo. I can't remember his name. whatever his name was, when he wrote this book, in this book, he stated that one way to exterminate the Negroes is to make a system. And here's the reason. When you want to know, and people are asked, well, why doesn't America have free health care? It's the richest nation on earth. Everybody in America deserves free health care. Well, the reason that America won't give free health care is this man's book. Back in the 1800s, I think he wrote it. Publication in 1896. So just before the 1900s, he wrote this book. And he said, if we make a society that the African American population has no access to medical health care, they will become extinct in a few generations, and that will solve our race problem. It's in his book. He says, so we'll just create a society that they can't afford medical care. Now, I remember this because my father was a doctor, Dr. Raymond Edgar Witcher, in the 50s and the 60s, and I remember in the 60s, carrying his medical bag around when black people couldn't go to hospitals. We weren't allowed to be admitted into hospitals. Most communities didn't have black hospitals. Most black people died at home. I remember these times when healthcare was not accessible to black people. And the best friend that every black family had were their family doctor and the mortician, because the doctor delivered everybody in your family and the mortician buried everybody in your family. So I remember when these practices of doing everything that they can to not give black people access to medical care existed. So when Medicaid and Medicare came out, to keep it from being free health care, they said that every patient has to pay 20% of their medical bill, and we'll cover 80%, knowing that black people didn't have 20% of their medical bill to pay. That's why there became a deductible. Well, you need to pay so much and we'll pay so much. It was to eliminate us. This is eugenics. This is how they put things together in a way that is almost affordable for you. It's almost something you can have, only if you had enough money. This is how it works, okay? So when we look at these things, there's no need in us letting anyone convince us that happened a long time ago, because you're watching it happen right now in the White House in 2025, okay? They haven't lost their ambition. First, to control the world. Second, to never give us anything. You can't tell me one thing. I don't care if you're white, black, Asian, Hispanic, I don't care. Anybody that's watching this video, please come in the comments and tell me one thing that this government has given us that we didn't have to die and fight for. I'll wait. Show me one thing that the conscience of this country said, we're going to do this because it's the best thing to do for black people. I don't think you'll be able to do it. I'm going to end this video. I just wanted to come back and keep this on the eugenics program. Look up the eugenics program. Christianity, let me bring this up before I go on. Christianity is a part of the eugenics program. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I say a lot of things here, but I don't want you to think I'm making things up, because as I'm giving presentations, things that I've read or studied, they'll come to me and I'll interject it into the presentation and not show you the objective evidence. So I said that Christianity is part of the eugenics program. Well, do a search on Is Christianity part of a eugenics program? Comes right up. Christianity and eugenics. The place of religion in the British, let's see. In the British Eugenics Education Society and the American Eugenics Study of 1907 to 1940. I'm telling you, Christianity is a big part of the eugenics program, because the eugenics program, let me see if I can find it. The eugenics program said, we will use the church to control the black communities and population we will use the church to strictly control the black communities and population, and the eugenics program will strictly control the pastors for compliance, that you're keeping these people in order. You are not letting them out of this slavery mentality. And we're going to take the black pastors and put them in the pulpit to control the black people, and a white person never is going to be seen. They won't even know it's us doing it to them, because they're going to trust their pastors. You can read it. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Okay. When I'm telling you that the eugenics program said they will use the church to strictly control the black population, and the eugenics program will strictly control the black pastors to ensure control. Okay. Do a search on eugenics program said they will use the church to control Negroes. There's a lot of information in here, but I'm pretty sure it was in this one where it says Negro Projects and Margaret Sanger. Okay, now when you open this, this is telling you, and you can read that through. I'm just going to show you a couple things. This is telling you that the eugenics program is setting up the control of populations of undesirables. They want eliminated, and it tells you down through here. Civil rights mean nothing without the rights to life. Here, when they're talking about abortion, but when you're talking about the aim of the program was to restrict many believe exterminate the black population. You see it right here? You can't see my pointer that I'm trying to show you, but I'm right here on the third paragraph down. It says the aim of the program was to restrict exterminate the black population under the of better health and family planning. Sager clearly implemented her plan. What's more shocking is Sager, she hated black Americans, all right? And she's telling you that this is telling you that through the eugenics program, we're going to control the black population. You can read on down through here, okay? But you're going to see when I say the eugenics program was the study of how not to just control us, but to eliminate us. And these are things, I think Margaret Sanger was one of the ones that made the requirements to receive welfare. Any kind of assistance, family assistance, family planning. Margaret Sanger was in charge of all of that. And she's a racist. Her daddy was the Ku Klux Klan. Okay? I don't make things up. Okay? Margaret Sanger was a racist. Remove statues of Margaret Sanger, Planned Parenthood founder, tied to eugenics and racism. Her father was one of the Grand Dragons, or whatever you call them, Ku Klux Klan, and she was in charge of all of these things that were advertised as being put in place to help black people. They weren't put in place to help us. One of the reasons that the eugenics program wanted to implant Planned Parenthood in the black neighborhoods wasn't to help the black women. It was to prevent black women from having black babies, because they knew that the white population's birth rate was at a negative number. More white people were dying than being born. So this is what it's telling you. All right, Margaret Sanger, she's the one that came up with all of these plans and studies and ways to learn how to control, kill, and eliminate black people through the United States Eugenics Program. And let me do one more thing. I'm gonna end it. So if you go and do a search on, is the United States of America Eugenics Program still alive today? It's still alive today, okay? Eugenics was everywhere 100 years ago. We still live in it. Videos of the eugenics programs still active today. Yeah, it's still active today. You thought they retired? They changed their mind? They love us now? Okay. I'm talking about the elite. All right. Eugenics in the United States. Not the past, but the present. Okay. It hasn't gone anywhere. All right. So I'm just going to show you this, and you can come back and read it. I've gone through these things. I'm telling you. Whatever you believe, you believe you're going to be saved and you're going to be raptured, and Jesus is not going to let this happen to you. Okay, when you die, don't be surprised that Jesus didn't come, because the rapture was not added to the Bible until 1830. Nobody had heard of a rapture before they made it up. Nobody had heard Jesus Christ is the Son of God before they made it up. If you do a search on, was Joshua ever called or considered the Son of God before the Nicene Council, it says no. So if you just do a little study, you'll find out that the teaching of Yahshua, Jesus, the letter J didn't exist until 1524, so back in 325 AD, they weren't saying Jesus. But the whole concept that God had a son, begotten, not made, didn't appear until the year 325 AD. I'm going to end this video. I'm going to say thanks for joining. Thanks for the new subscribers. Please like and share. And I'm going to say Ashe. Thanks for joining with me today. Okay, I needed to come back and edit this in, because when I watched it, I left out some very important things, and I don't want to. I want to have this on this video, so I have a few minutes that I'm gonna bring up a few things. Let me go back and. Okay, so when we're talking about eugenics, we are actually talking about what the Europeans classified as a method of improving the human race. Genetics was increasingly discredited as unscientific and racially based during the 20th century, especially after the adoption of its doctrine by the Nazis. Okay, so what it's actually saying down here, once they started doing this treatment that they were doing to the Africans, to Jews, Europeans, and other races, it was discredited. This was specifically designed for Africans, African Americans, and black people. So what I want to point out to you now, and when I watched this because I had downloaded it and everything and had it on YouTube. When I watched it, I remember that Hitler said that everything that he did to the Jews, he learned it from America, of how they were socially engineering us and how they were dealing with America's racial issues, which was blacks. So Hitler said, now keep in mind, if you go back and look at my videos on the African Holocaust, the Congo Holocaust, and the Jamaican Holocaust, you will read there that everything Hitler did to the Jews, he learned it from what King Leopold and Great Britain and the Portuguese and all of these European countries that invaded Africa. He learned everything that he did to the Jews from what the Europeans did in Africa. And then once the United States had established itself and wrote all of these codes, wrote all of these laws and all of these things, he said he learned how to exterminate the Jews from the Americans. Now, I can't find this report, but I will find it. There was a movement, I think it was back in the 1930s or somewhere around there, maybe the 1920s, that the government had extermination plans for black people here in America. I mean, they were talking about putting us in ovens and gas chambers. And when they took it before Congress, Congress would not approve it. I'll find it. And Congress wouldn't approve it. So Hitler took those ideologies and made his death camps, his concentration camps, because it was America's idea first to do it to us, and Congress wouldn't approve it. So let me show you. All right. If you do a search, did Hitler say he learned how to torture Jews from what Americans did to Negroes? And it says Adolf Hitler referred to the United States as the leading racial jurisdiction in the world and admired its efforts toward healthy racial society. He also contemplated the idea of killing the entire Jewish population. In the documentary from 1921, he spoke of confining Jews to concentration camps. He believed that the destruction of Soviet Jews would cause the Soviet Union to break up. All of these things, these ideas, he says he refers to the United States as the leading racist jurisdiction. I'm telling you, this country, they had plans to exterminate us. There's no doubt about it, okay? And you can look these things up. All right, look, let's look in here. Were the Nazis inspired by the Jim Crow laws? Okay. You can read this. I don't have but a little time because I don't want to make this over an hour. All right, in 1935, Nazi Germany passed two radical, discriminatory pieces of legislation inspired by the American laws. You see, this here, they were inspired by the American laws. All of everything Hitler did, he followed America's format to do it. Read it. Okay, for the protection of German blood and honor. Together, these were known as the Nuremberg laws. Look it up. All right, when the Nazis set out to legal disenfranchise and discriminate against Jews citizens, they weren't just coming up with ideas out of the air. They closely studied the laws of other countries according to James. They studied our laws. America in the early 20th century was the leading racist jurisdiction in the world, says Whitham, who is a professor at Yale Law School. They took what America was trying to do to us. You can read down through here. I'm not gonna read all of this, but I'm leading you to the objective evidence. You can't dispute this. you're not going to get this in social studies and American history or world history. They're not going to tell you that. But you can read for yourself everything that Hitler did and set up. It was copied from the American laws that they set up here to destroy us. And in one of these I read, I can't remember which one. I can't go back and find everything. That they had plans to set up death camps and execution camps, concentration camps with gas chambers and ovens to kill us right here in America. And when they presented it to Congress, Congress would not approve it. Okay. Yeah, I did a search. That the government once planned to exterminate blacks, but Congress didn't approve. Okay, I'm not sure if it's in here, but you can read. And the reason I'm bringing this back up is, okay, the process of disenfranchisement. All right. You can read it in Black Codes and Jim Crow. They all of the way have done everything possible to disenfranchise. Well, they haven't done everything. They have disenfranchised us. We don't belong. Okay? So that you understand, disenfranchised refers to being deprived of some rights, privileges, or immunity, especially the right to vote. It can also signify the diminished social or political status of a group. Okay, so yeah, we were disenfranchised. We still are. Okay, so all of these things, I don't think you can go anywhere else on earth and find an ethnic group or people identified by race that have been targeted, disenfranchised, attempted to be exterminated more than black people. You can't find it. You cannot find any other ethnic group that they had laws made for them like this. Now, I'm not saying that you can't find some racist laws against certain people, but where are they? You're not gonna find it. Okay, here. When I told you that the Supreme Court was put in place to protect white supremacy, it tells you right here. Supreme Court fails to protect black rights. You can read down through here. I'm just bringing you the article, and you can find it. I mean, it's all from the same page, okay? This is talking about when the Supreme Court fought against us having anything. Let me find the one I want to show you. Okay, if you come right here, this is when, let me go up a little bit so that you can see. This is right after the Civil War. This is right after, because I mentioned that we have two constitutions. The first 12 amendments was to establish white supremacy. The Supreme Court was put in place to protect white supremacy. And in the 60s, the Republican Party in Washington, the home of former abolitionists that sought to grant legal rights and social equality to African Americans in the South. And the Republicans, then dubbed radical Republicans, managed to enact a series of constitutional amendments. This is when they brought in the 13th Amendment, all right, which ratified in 1865, abolished slavery. 3 years later, the 14th Amendment provided blacks with citizenship and equal protection under the law. And this is exactly what Dr. Claude Anderson was saying. Okay, this is the evidence of that. Okay, so the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments gave black American males the right to vote. Then look here, 5 years later, Congress passed the Civil Rights Act of 1875 and groundbreaking federal law, proposed by Republican Senator Charles Sumner of Massachusetts, which granted that everyone in the United States was entitled to the full and equal enjoyment of public accommodations and facilities regardless of race or skin color. What the radical Republicans won it, led by Charles Sumner. Wait a minute, I'm going to go down here because the Supreme Court, here's where I want to go. Go down to the paragraph where it says, but that didn't happen and wouldn't for decades, in part because the decision handed down by the Supreme Court. Now here's where the Supreme Court steps in and says, oh, you're not going to get it. No. They're not going to get full rights. And they shot it down, which declared the Civil Rights Act of 1875 unconstitutional in 1883. Okay? The court also said Congress lacked the constitutional authority under the Fourth Amendment to grant equal protection under the law to blacks, stating that only states and local governments could do that. It also passed a ruling stating that the Enforcement Act of 1871, which forbade meetings of Ku Klux Klan members, was unconstitutional. Look, you can't stop these Ku Klux Klan from having their meeting, plotting, and planning to kill niggas. That's unconstitutional. That means that the Constitution was set up on racism. Showing you right here. All right, so I want to show you these things because I don't want to leave you thinking that I'm making anything up. I was a quality engineer for 27 years. I don't make things up. I qualify things. I say that it is either qualified or it's disqualified. It either passes or it fails. It either meets the requirements or it doesn't. And I'm showing you that it's not. I'm going to ask you a question. All the way through these times, where was Jesus? Where was he? Look at what's going on in the White House right now. Look at what this presidency is trying to transition America back into. And all black people that are running around screaming about Donald Trump, I love Donald Trump and I voted for Donald Trump, shame on you. They need to put a mark right here in your forehead so everybody knows, so that everybody black knows which side you stand on. Okay? Because you're sick. Period. Because I'm showing you that they are trying to go back and redo this to us again. And it might be too late. I'll be honest with you. Okay, the paragraph just below it. In Louisiana in 1897, there were 130,000 African Americans registered to vote. Goldstone says the new Constitution was passed in 1889. It was not sent to the people for ratification, but just passed by the legislature. 2 years after that, by the 1900s, that 130,000 African Americans voting bloc had been reduced down to 5,000 voters. This is the Supreme Court. So you can't tell me that the Supreme Court primary job is to protect white supremacy. And if you can show me anything that I have a few seconds and I wanted to come back and edit this in because I mentioned that Jim Vance is in a company that goes around buying foreclosed farms and properties and this, that, and the other. So he's getting ready to make out like a fat rat. Okay, so for the lady that I saw and I mentioned in Nebraska that was crying and saying, black people, you know, please feel sorry for us, please help us. Okay, what do you want us to do? Okay, you're marching, this, that, and the other. Well, I'm asking you this. When black people were marching, if you voted for Donald Trump, I'm 99% sure that you weren't marching with us. Okay, now I want you to take a look at the man that's getting ready to have your farm because you voted for him. There's nothing we can do about it. I pray for you. Okay, I pray for you. All right, Ashe. Have a great day.